Hello everyone, it's Moonkin FTW here, back with another episode of the RCT3 Coaster Challenge. In this episode we're tackling the inverted hairpin coaster, which is going to be not the most exciting design because it has pretty much no special track pieces, so it doesn't have any loopings or overbank turns, not even helixes or anything like that. So it's a very basic design, so the coaster is going to be pretty small, but I'm going to try and make it still kind of compact and still have some of those I don't know, like typical things you'll see on either a Wild Mouse or something like this. So those very quick turns back and forth, like those 180 degrees turns, and some drops. So yeah, this is the general layout that I came up with, and I'm going to use a standard or a pretty basic station design, but very effective one that I've always liked. I'm going to add that here, so I'm not going to use the Vodens, girders, and glass to make the station. I'm also going to check out the color scheme here. For now I'm selling with red and white, and I want to try and make some sort of like a tower here for at least the top supports, but it didn't work out that well, and you'll see in just a couple of minutes I will basically ditch this idea and just go for something else, because initially I wanted to make basically a very simple but basic theming, and then I was like, yeah, this really doesn't look all that great, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do something else because this doesn't quite work out that well. But you'll see that in a bit. First of all, I'm trying to figure out the inversions, or not the inversions, the supports for this inverted hairpin coaster. And I'm going to use Moby Steel Jungle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add these very simple but effective inverted supports. And I'm going to paste them all over the place and yeah, see what they look like. They're, like I said, pretty basic, but they do the job quite well. So I'm going to keep on going and until I've kind of covered all the areas and make sure that all the places are supported. So here you can see me getting rid of the towers. Like, yeah, it doesn't really work that well, it looks kind of crappy, so I decided to get rid of that one. So here we're just going to keep on putting down these basic but pretty effective supports, and it's actually doesn't take a lot of time to do this, because I wanted to keep things simple for this one. Again, the coaster design itself is also pretty simple. So I'm going to add the footers, of course, because they do look quite nice. And then from here on out, I'm thinking, okay, what shall I do with theming? And then I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to try and make some sort of like a botanical kind of roller coaster, if you will. It's going to be like similar to the glider coaster where, you're flying through this garden. But here you have these futuristic pieces which have vegetation inside. So I thought it would look quite interesting if you would fly through these a couple of times. So I'm using these pieces to kind of spice up this roller coaster, because yeah, I don't want every single roller coaster to have no theming whatsoever. I do want I do want a fair share of roller coasters to have a good amount of theming, the ones that I make, because if I would all make them with the standard theming, it's just going to be a bit too boring, if you will. And like I said, I want to make they don't have to be super complicated, but it shouldn't be super basic as well, unless I can't really avoid it with things like the half pipe coaster. It's a very simple and small design, so there's not much you can do. Here you can do a little bit more, so I made these kind of botanical inside gardens, if you will. And I'm going to go ahead and just add some vegetation around this roller coaster to kind of spice things up. So nothing crazy. I thought about making a wall from this, but it just doesn't quite work. So I'm like, okay, never mind. I'll just stick to some these futuristic flowers. I'm going to post these. I'm going to put these around the roller coaster, add some bushes and everything, and then just kind of seal it off, if you will, with this small hedge, so everything's nice and compact. And yeah, of course we still need to make our queue, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the color scheme to instead of red and white to green and white, which it really matches the botanical colors, if you will, the color scheme. So that's one thing I changed. Of course, a classic of mine is I'm going to make a queue with some these tents, the canvas tents to cover the guests from the shade. And there we go, that is the inverted hairpin coaster. So nothing super amazing, but then again, like I said, this is a pretty primitive design, very simple, so you're not going to have any sort of like amazing roller coaster to begin with. It's gonna be pretty simple, but still, I do like the way it looks. Looks like a fun little roller coaster ride. I'm gonna save this, of course, so I can maybe spam this in a future park that I have. And I'm gonna call this Botanical Flight. I think it's quite fitting because it's an inverted roller coaster and it's a botanic theming. So yeah, I'm actually quite happy with this one, and I'm very curious about the POV because this has very short turns, and I want to see if this isn't too unrealistic. I know that the supports you can see here, they kind of, they go through the track, if you will. Actually, let me change it to, there we go, that's a little bit better. So the supports aren't going to be 100% perfect because but they're never going to line up perfectly. So I'm going to start out with a big drop here. Here we go. We're going to go to those switchbacks, so 180-degree turns that you see very often on a Wild Mouse or something like that. There you go. We're going to pick up some speed again. And so far the pacing is not too bad. I didn't want to have any super quick and fast turns. Then a drop here. Okay, that corner's a little fast, but that's okay. Into these gardens here. It actually looks quite nice. Look at that. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, the supports, once again, they're not lining up perfectly, but I can't avoid that. That's just, a bit unfortunate. These supports also aren't made for the hairpin coasters, so it's never going to line up properly. We're going to go to the last piece, the last little bit here, and there we go. That's actually not too bad. So, considering the limited track design and limited options, I'm actually quite happy with the way this turned out. So, yeah, that's another episode or another challenge in the bag, if you will. And, yeah, I'll see you guys in the next design. Thank you very much for watching, and have yourself a wonderful day.